for tuning in to Planetterrian Daily, episode 82. It's June 7th, 2026. Here's your science and health briefing. Looking back at 7 episodes from the past week, the stories that stood out show how researchers are refining the tools we use to measure aging and brain function, while also clarifying how everyday inputs like sleep, movement, and nutrition shape those same systems over time. One through line across the work is the search for earlier, more precise signals that could eventually help track whether interventions are actually shifting trajectories before problems become entrenched. A Nature Medicine paper mapped a distinct microglial transition that coincides with measurable cognitive decline in Alzheimer's disease. The work identifies this cellular shift as a potential tipping point in disease progression. It places the finding within the ongoing search for reliable aging biomarkers and mechanism-based targets. The transition supplies a potential new window for tracking reversibility of brain aging. What stands out is how this kind of cellular marker could eventually let studies test whether a given approach is moving the needle on brain aging itself, rather than just downstream symptoms. This development fits the tracked program on neuroscience and the brain by advancing questions around Alzheimer's mechanisms, and it suggests future trials may start layering microglial readouts alongside more conventional cognitive testing to see whether early cellular changes can be slowed or redirected. Now, shifting to another physiological system now being read non-invasively. AI analysis of Thymus scans linked organ health to broader longevity signals. The approach fits the tracked program on aging and longevity biology by clarifying which interventions translate to humans and which biomarkers prove reliable. It offers an update on how this tool might complement existing cellular aging measures. One practical implication is that Thymus imaging could give researchers a way to check whether interventions aimed at immune or systemic aging are producing measurable changes in an organ that shrinks and loses function with time. That kind of structural readout might help separate interventions that look promising in animal models from those that actually register in people, giving longevity studies a clearer endpoint to follow alongside blood-based or epigenetic clocks. From structural aging markers to real-time electrophysiological signatures of brain state, researchers isolated an oscillation present only in wakefulness and REM sleep, absent in deep, non-REM stages. The rhythm supplies a new electrophysiological target for studies of brain aging and neurodegeneration. Follow-up experiments will test whether the signature changes with age or disease. This kind of state-specific signal matters because it could eventually let researchers monitor how brain dynamics shift across the lifespan or in response to neurodegeneration, without relying solely on behavioral tests that often appear only after substantial change has already occurred. It also opens a route for sleep studies to ask whether preserving or restoring this oscillation tracks with better cognitive outcomes over time. From brain state monitoring to downstream effects on memory and sleep quality, 2 papers demonstrated that poor sleep impairs memory, while aversive memories in turn disrupt sleep architecture. The work maps bidirectional pathways between emotional processing and sleep regulation. It builds on the tracked program, examining sleep's causal role in aging and disease. Researchers highlight the need for interventions that address both memory consolidation and sleep continuity simultaneously. The implication here is that treating sleep problems in isolation may miss half the loop. Approaches that support memory processing during wakeful hours could also improve nighttime continuity and vice versa, which matters for anyone designing behavioral or pharmacological strategies aimed at older adults, where both memory and sleep fragmentation tend to worsen together. From sleep memory dynamics to measurable lifestyle factors that also influence brain health. A study found that physical fitness correlates with brain metrics already in early adulthood. Effects varied by sex, adding granularity to exercise-brain relationships. The result sits within the broader evidence that behavioral interventions can influence trajectories before clinical disease appears. What this adds is a reminder that differences in fitness show up in brain measures even before midlife, and the sex-specific patterns suggest that uniform exercise recommendations may need refinement if the goal is optimizing brain health across populations rather than assuming one protocol fits everyone equally well. From exercise effects to another modifiable input now quantified across dozens of trials. A meta-analysis of 29 trials with nearly 4,000 participants linked omega-3 intake to reductions in both impulsive and planned aggression. The reductions held regardless of dose, duration, age, or sex. DHA enrichment in prefrontal cortex membranes is proposed as one mechanism. The work adds to the evidence base on nutrition's influence on behavior and brain health. One takeaway is that the consistency across subgroups points to a fairly stable relationship rather than one that only appears under narrow conditions, which could matter for public health messaging around dietary fat quality, even if the exact size of the effect still needs further calibration in different settings. From individual-level interventions to population-level prevention data. A meta-analysis examined vaccine impact across multiple seasons for children aged 2 to 5. For every 100 vaccinated children in this group, investigators recorded between 9 and 14 fewer influenza cases per season. The findings align with earlier observational data, but provide tighter bounds on expected impact. This supplies concrete public health impact numbers for a routine intervention. The tighter estimates give health systems a clearer sense of how many cases might be averted in this age band when vaccination rates are high, which in turn helps when weighing the logistics of school-based or clinic-based programs against the predictable seasonal burden of influenza in young children. Before we go, keep an eye on whether thymus imaging and microglial transition markers begin to appear together in combined aging studies next week. That kind of convergence could start showing whether immune organ changes and brain cell transitions track each other in the same individuals, which would be a useful next step for anyone following multi-system approaches to aging. That's Planetterrian Daily for today. If you enjoyed this, a rating or review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify really helps new listeners find the show. I'm Patrick in Vancouver. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you tomorrow. And before you go, this show is part of the NARA Network, a family of daily podcasts covering tech, science, markets, and more. If you enjoyed today's episode, give OmniView a listen, a balanced daily world news briefing that takes every side seriously. You can explore the whole lineup at naranetwork.com. This episode used AI voice synthesis of my voice. Editorial selection and analysis are my own.